Top 3 rules that get this kind of reaction. Number 1, applying multiple replacement effects, especially when those replacement effects deal with damage. Because when multiple replacement effects are trying to apply to the same thing, it is the player that is being affected or the controller of the object that is being affected that gets to choose the order of how these replacement effects apply. It doesn't matter who controls what replacement effect. What especially pisses people off when it comes to damage is that it's not the player that's dealing the damage that gets to choose, it's the thing that gets dealt the damage that gets to choose. So if I cast a lightning bolt targeting my opponent, I can't choose the order so that it adds 2 damage to it first, and then double that to make it 10. No, my opponent gets to choose the order, and they'll most likely choose to double it first, and then add 2 damage to make it just 8. This is because damage is not considered an object, and the player that gets to choose the order is the player that's being affected, or the object that's being affected. And so because in this case, the player is being affected by the lightning bolt, it's the player that gets to choose the order of the placements to that damage. Number 2, Lier and adventure spells. Lier has a static effect that can let you cast instant and sorcery cards from your graveyard with flashback. It actually allows you to cast adventure spells from the graveyard for their adventure portion, even though this card is always considered for its permanent portion in any zone. And it's all because of this rule here, which is a little bit complicated to understand, but basically it lets you consider any alternative characteristics of a card when you're trying to cast it from another zone. And once you're looking at that alternative characteristic, you can apply any effect to that alternative characteristic and just use that as a consideration to be able to cast it. Now this one I can understand why it pisses players off, because it's incredibly unintuitive and it only works because of a single specific rule, and it's kind of an edge case. I think most players view this as a loophole to exploit the rules to gain some advantage, but to me this is a pretty cool interaction, and I think that's why understanding the rules is pretty fun. And yes, this still does allow you to cast the permanent portion once it's on an adventure. It's still on an adventure. And the last rule that I feel like pisses players off the most, of course, deals with the layers. Because when a creature loses abilities, most players expect that that creature loses all of its abilities. But because of this rule here and the way that layers work, once part of an effect begins to apply, it will continue to apply even if it's removed later on. So because Kudo's effect is all in one paragraph, which makes it one entire effect, and it can apply part of this effect on an earlier layer, on layer 4, by the time we get to layer 6 to remove all of its abilities, well, since it already began to apply on an earlier layer, it will continue to apply its entire effect. So even though Kudo will visibly have no abilities, because it already got to apply its effect, it will continue to apply that effect. And those are the 3 rules that get the most visceral reaction. Did any of these piss you off, or is there another rule that pisses you off?